I'm leaving my wife after 15 years together. I'm not asking for advice, and I'm not going to change my mind. I'm tired of her criticizing everything I do, always complaining when the kids ask her for something, and just in general her bad attitude. My wife, June, fake name, and I are 35 years old, been together since 15 and married at 26. We were high school sweethearts, and everyone thought we were the perfect couple. We had the same interests, the same goals, the same values. We were inseparable, and we couldn't imagine a life without each other. We dreamed of growing old together, having a big house, a nice car, a dog, and 2 kids. But dreams don't always come true. After 6 months of being together, even though we were young, I asked her if she ever saw herself being a mother, because I knew I've always wanted 2 kids, and I wanted to be on the same page with my partner. She said yes, she wanted kids of her own, but if I had known this was how nasty she was going to be, I would have left her. She lied to me. She lied about wanting kids, about loving me, about being happy. She lied about everything. The first 3 years of our relationship were amazing. My parents loved her and vice versa. She was kind, caring, supportive, and fun. She made me laugh. She made me feel good. She made me feel loved. She was my best friend, my lover, my soulmate. At 18 I knew I wanted to wife her up. I bought her a promise ring with a small diamond on it, and she cried tears of joy when I gave it to her. She said she couldn't wait to marry me someday. But someday never came. The relationship started going downhill when we both went to college. She was 3 hours away from where I went to school at and made me come see her every weekend. Anytime I asked her if she'd come see me instead because I didn't have money for gas to drive all the way to her or money for a bus ticket, she'd make an excuse as to why she couldn't come or complain about how her friends' BFs would come and see them every weekend without complaint, and I'd suck it up and borrow money or use up my savings. This was the first red flag I ignored because I thought I was in love. She was selfish. She didn't care about my needs, my feelings, my situation. She only cared about herself, about what she wanted, about what made her happy. She didn't appreciate me. She took me for granted. She used me. She made me feel guilty for not being able to afford to see her more often. She made me feel insecure for not being able to satisfy her more sexually. She made me feel worthless for not being able to give her more materially. But I still loved her. I loved her despite her flaws, despite her faults, despite her mistakes. I loved her because of our history, because of our memories, because of our hopes. I loved her because I thought she loved me too. But she didn't. Somehow things became worse after school when we started working. I saved up to get my own place to stay at while she was still with her parents. When times became tough and I was low on money and couldn't afford my bills and groceries, my parents allowed me to stay at their place since I bought my house and didn't rent it, so I could just lock it up and come back when I wanted to. Apparently me moving out when I was struggling was an inconvenience to her. In her defense, she didn't have anywhere to go to when she was bored. Second red flag I ignored as she kept saying, as a man, how do your parents still pay your bills? She was disrespectful. She didn't respect me as a person, as a partner, as a man. She didn't respect my choices, my efforts, my struggles. She didn't respect my family, my friends, my work. She belittled me in front of others. She mocked me behind my back. She insulted me in private. She made me feel ashamed for not being able to provide for myself more independently. She made me feel angry for not being able to stand up for myself more assertively. She made me feel hopeless for not being able to change myself more drastically. But I still married her. I married her after she humiliated me because of the present I gave her for her birthday. Her 26th birthday was coming up, so I decided to propose to her on her birthday and plan a small surprise for her to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Apparently that was tacky and cheap of me to propose at her birthday gathering. Now I always knew she wanted me to go all out for her proposal, and I was saving up for that, but since I wanted her to know I was serious about her and wanted to marry her, I proposed with a ring with an emerald gem. She flipped. She kept on talking about how small the ring was, and how she was disappointed in this cheap engagement. I told her about how I was saving up to give her the grand proposal she wanted, but then she told me she would have preferred to wait than wear that cheap ring. She was ungrateful. She didn't appreciate what I did for her, what I gave her, what I sacrificed for her. She didn't appreciate the thought, the effort, the love behind my actions. She didn't appreciate the ring, the proposal, the commitment. She complained about everything. She demanded more. She settled for nothing. She made me feel embarrassed for not being able to afford a bigger ring. She made me feel hurt for not being able to make her happy with my proposal. She made me feel regretful for not being able to take back my decision. But I still loved her. I loved her despite her ingratitude, despite her dissatisfaction, despite her rejection. I loved her because of our bond, because of our vows, because of our promise. I loved her because I thought she loved me too. But she didn't. She was a complete pain in the ass during the wedding preparations. She kept on dismissing any ideas I had, and told me to let her handle all the planning, and I should just pay and watch. She wanted a big wedding, a fancy dress, a lavish reception. She wanted everything to be perfect, according to her standards, according to her wishes. She didn't care about my opinions, my preferences, my budget. She ignored me. She overruled me. She controlled me. She made me feel excluded from our own wedding. She made me feel bored with our own wedding. She made me feel trapped in our own wedding. But I still married her. I married her because I thought it was the right thing to do, because I thought it was what we both wanted, Because I thought it would make us happy. But it didn't. Now the kids. We have twin girls, 2 years old and absolute bundles of joy. They are the best thing that ever happened to me, and the worst thing that ever happened to us. They are smart, cute, funny, and sweet. They are curious, playful, adventurous, and brave. They are my pride and joy, my reason for living, my hope for the future. But they are not hers. She hates them. She hates them because they are girls, not boys. She hates them because they look like me, not her. She hates them because they take up my time, my attention, my love. She hates them because they exist. When she first gave birth to them, she was grumpy all the time and almost hit them once because they were crying. I took them to my parents' house for the weekend and gave her the scolding of her lifetime. She blamed it on her postpartum depression and said she'd go to therapy for it. She lied again. She didn't go to therapy, she didn't get better, she didn't change. She got worse. She neglected them, she ignored them, she abused them. She left them alone in their cribs for hours without feeding them or changing them or playing with them. She yelled at them when they cried or laughed or talked or breathed. She slapped them when they spilled something or broke something or touched something. She made them feel scared of their own mother. She made them feel sad in their own home. She made them feel unwanted in their own family. But I still stayed with her. I stayed with her because I thought she needed me, because I thought she would improve, because I thought she would love them. But she didn't. And now I'm leaving her. I'm leaving her and taking the kids with me,